Okay, this is Dr. Aisha Fields.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. What were you talking about just now? She is the International Director of AAPDEP, All African People's Development and Empowerment Project. I keep saying program. Why do we have to change things?
For African people?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's clear. Anybody with eyes who want to see, I mean, everywhere we are as African people, we're experiencing the most serious kind of poverty, misery, police repression, not having access to health care, not having access to the basics, decent housing, decent education, everywhere, no matter where we are as African people, and there's no way possible that if we don't, organize ourselves to, do something to change the relationship to the system that created these problems for us as African people, there's no way in the world that it's going to change. What are we doing right now to really put that into place, creating that change? Well, I mean, as the Uhuru movement, I mean, the Uhuru movement, for people who might not know, is, anyway, Uhuru means freedom. It's a Swahili word that means freedom. And the Uhuru movement is an organization led by the African People's Socialist Party that's been around since 1972. And the Uhuru movement is an organization that, operates on a lot of different fronts with the goal of organizing the masses of African people back into political life so that we can assume control over our own lives.
And when you say political life, what kind of political life are we talking about? Are we talking about Republican and Democrat? Or are we talking about some real politics where we have, what kind of politics are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about independent African political movement.
We can keep on going. We organizing ourselves as African people. Why is that really important? And why is it really important in this day and age to really get that message across? I mean, Obama, we post-racial, right? We post-racial. We kumbayaing. We got somebody that represents us and represents our needs in the White House, and he's obviously doing the job that everybody else needs to see. Like, isn't that what we are dealing with right now? Right? Come on, Aisha.
Yeah. All of that. But really, I mean, I think if we look at, I think we have to look at what our objective is. If our objective is to be able to be the black or brown representative of the U.S. government, which is the leading imperialist, power in the world, then yes, Barack Obama represents the highest expression of our ability to be that and do that. If we're talking about completely overturning the relationship that African people have to this blood-sucking system, world system, that African people have all over the world, and even other colonized people have all over the world to this blood-sucking system, then no, it's not enough. In fact, it's against our ability to even be able to organize the masses of our people to overturn that relationship with someone like a Barack Obama in the office that he holds, because what we're clear on is that we need to change the relationship. We need to change the relationship that has African people, no matter where we are, forced to live in this abject poverty, misery, with all the social contradictions that we have. They're not going to get better. The fact that we got children, our children who are, fighting each other and killing each other, I mean, as much as we want to blame African parents and as much as we want to blame African people, all the blame in the world, all the, conferences in the world on, the African family and all that kind of stuff is not going to change that from happening. Things are going to only get worse. They're not going to get better until we as African people take the responsibility to organize ourselves to take power over our own lives, which means totally dismantling, eradicating, smashing this system of capitalism, this system of imperialism that takes and sucks the resources of Africa and African people and other colonized people around the world, takes our natural resources, takes our labor, takes our intellectual resources, takes our cultural resources, and uses them for the benefit of, a few, for the white world and the white ruling class, and never for our benefit.
Let's explore that idea of using resources. Now, plenty of people that watch this are looking at things from a national perspective. And let's just give them a national perspective of how our resources are being removed from us here.
In the U.S.?
Yes.
Okay. I asked that because in the Uhuru movement, we understand that what we're fighting for is one Africa, one nation. We're African people all over the world, 1 billion strong, see ourselves as one nation. So we're talking about right here in the U.S. I think that, for one thing, the U.S., would there even be a U.S. were it not for the genocide of the indigenous people?
That's
were
right.
it not for the mass enslavement of African people? Were it not for, even after slavery was no longer legal, if it weren't for the
laws, Jim Crow laws.
Jim Crow laws, if it weren't for convict leasing, if it wasn't for all kinds of other legal and maybe not even on the books legal things that happened to the African people in this country that made it possible for our labor to be used to benefit the white ruling class and the masses of white people in the United States in general, for them to have the ability to make lots of money at our expense, while we were in our communities not able to even benefit from the labor that we produced. Right now what happens is that we have in this country a policy of police containment, that as opposed to a policy of economic development for African people. And this policy of police containment is something that not only puts millions of African people in the prison system or somehow tied to the prison system, but also creates, again, jobs and wealth for the white community. Because when you think about where those jails, those prisons are located, they're in the white community, where they provide millions of jobs for white people to be jailers, for them to be wardens, for them to work in other areas that produce opportunity for corporations in the United States to benefit from the slave labor that African people provide in these prison systems.
Right.
That even for the government itself, that has Africans producing plates, license plates and other kind of things, furniture for state government and that kind of thing. So in every way, African labor is being expropriated from us.
Can we talk a little bit more about what we're doing with AAPDEP? How is AAPDEP play in All African People's Development and Empowerment Project, is acronym as AAPDEP? What AAPDEP's role is in this whole thing?
AAPDEP is an organization of the Uhuru movement that was built back in 2007 with the responsibility of organizing masses of African doctors, nurses, lawyers, not lawyers, excuse me, I want to say we do need some lawyers in the movement, but that's not AAPDEP's responsibility. But if you're a lawyer, we can find a place for you in AAPDEP. So hey, but specifically, African healthcare workers, engineers, people with skill in renewable energy, agriculture, farming, in areas related to development. To be able to use those skills, organize African people with those skills, to use those skills for the benefit of developing Africa and African communities around the world.
Right.
And not as some charity kit, not as something where Africans with these skills, sprinkle a little charity, as I've heard in the past, on Africans who don't have, access to clean water and stuff like that, but as a part of understanding and recognizing, taking ownership of our responsibility as African people to solve our own problems.
That's right.
For one. And then two, to recognize that any skill that we have as African people, honestly speaking, it doesn't belong to you, because we only in this recent period anyway have been able to go to these colleges and stuff like that because of the struggle that the masses of African people have made to be able to, who fought, died, were brutalized, to give us the opportunity to go to these schools that were not open to us, and to be able to have access to things that were not open to us before. So and they did that with the aspiration that those of us who would receive that education or who would get that training would open up an opportunity for the whole people, would advance the whole people. But instead what's happened is Africans have taken what the massive African people have fought and died for and use it for individual gain.